So let's talk about this URL. URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator, and it's used to locate particular resource on a server. So if resource is being hosted on a server, you can access in the web browser through this URL. And in browser we use HTTP protocol to access resource on the web server. So the browser accepts the HTTP protocol, and with this protocol it access the resources on the web server, and that resource may be any HTML file, image or PDF or any Word document or any other resource. And now we are going to see the URL syntax, and these are the few examples of this URL. And the first part is the protocol. Since we are accessing the HTML, we need to we need to contacting with the web server. That's why we are going to put this HTTP protocol, and we need to say colon, and next we need to put 2 forward slashes, and then we need to define the IP address colon, and the port number is 80. So this HTTP's default port is 80, and slash you need to say slash and define the HTML file you need to access. In our case it's index.html. So this is a simple URL syntax, and first we are defining the protocol HTTP, and then we are putting colon 2 forward slashes, and then we are defining the IP address, and this colon 80 defines the port of the web server, and this index.html is the file hosted on the web server. And instead of this IP address we can put the domain name also, google.com. As you can see from the previous example, I did not put the colon 80 because by default if you did not put this colon 80, the browser takes the port 80 as a default port. So if the web server is running on another port, you need to specify colon 1000 or 2000 or the port on which the web service is running. So since we did not put any colon 80 and the Google's web server is servicing from the port 80, we can good to go with this google.com only. And HTTP protocol, google.com domain name, I already showed you how DNS works. So instead of remembering all these IP address, we can say domain name, and then slash we need to say temp.png. So this image file is being hosted by google.com. So I took this only for example, guys. Just don't write, you'll get an error. And next example is http://google.com, and then if the images are in any other folder, you need to specify that folder, and in that folder you need to specify the file name you want to access. So I want to access this temp2.png, and it's in images directory. If you want access another directory, you need to change these images to another directory, and you can change to another file that's located in another directory. So you can just put so many folders like this if there are so many resources on the google.com. So this is the basic syntax, but this URL does not apply to HTTP protocol only. You can use this URL to access FTP server also using the browser. All you need to type is FTP instead of HTTP colon 2 forward slashes, and you need to type in the username colon password @domain name. So this is Nikki's username, and this Nikki is the password, and @laptop.com. If the FTP server allows anonymous access, you can just type anonymous or the blank username and the password. So you can also put the IP address instead of this domain name. So we will be using some different kinds of these URLs like FTP, RDP, SSH in other applications like command line applications and so on. So don't think that URL is only for HTTP, but it also applies to other protocols also. So that's all about the URL basics. So in this video we are going to talk about the HTTP request. So in order to request any resource from the web server, we need to follow some certain format for requesting resource. Otherwise your resource will not be given by the web server. So there are many types of requests. So first one is get request. So get request is used to get a resource from the web server, and the post request is used to post some details to the web server, like form post, like you can see sign up forms and username, like all the details you will enter into the form, and when you click on sign up or some other submit button, then these details will be sent to the web server. And put request is used to upload the files, like putting the files on the web server. If you have the access to upload any files, you can use this put command. And the delete option, if you have the access to delete any file on that web server, you can use the delete request. And the options request just tell you what web server allows you to request for. So if this option says get, post and put, you can perform only these three requests. You cannot use the another request. So that's what this options request is for. It will request all the request types the web server allowed. And there is another request called head request. Head is same like get, but it does not get the content of the web resource. So in get we actually get the resource we want, but in head it will just check the connectivity whether the resource is available or not. So let's take a look at this example. First one is this is whole is a one get request, and this is the format of the get request. You can see first one is the get. So I want to get something, and that is /test.html. so I want to get a test.html from the web server, and what I want to do is I want to specify the protocol I am using. So I want to use the HTTP 1.1. so 1.1 is like newer version, and 1.0 is a older version. The difference between these two is, and HTTP 1.1 keeps the connection alive after you requesting a web resource. So in HTTP 1.0, after you request a HTML or any file, after server sending the response, then the connection will be closed. So you need to again initiate the connection, and then you need to ask any other files. So that's a disadvantage that will increase the load from the clients. That's why we specify HTTP 1.1. So within one connection you can exchange as many files as you want. So that is the first line. First line is the request line. So you need to specify the request type, and you need to specify the resource you want, and you need to specify the protocol you need to use. And this is called parameters, and this is a value, and like parameter name and the value. So you can see user agent. User agent means from which browser I am requesting the resource. If it says Firefox, it's Mozilla, and Chrome, Safari. These are the web browsers, and if you request from these web browsers, say Chrome, then Chrome will be act as a user agent. And the host is actual web server you are requesting the test.html. so in our case, let's say google.com. and accept is the content type you want to accept in your browser, like text or HTML. So you are telling the web server that I am ready to accept this text or HTML, and also I can accept images and GIFs. So the server on seeing this, it will send a HTML formatted of this test.html. And accept language. So I want to get this test.html in the English language. You can see ENUS stands for United States English. So I want the test.html to be in English language. I mean the content of the test.html should be in English. You can also mention any other format if that format is available, or you can just Google translate it. And accept encoding means gzip and different. So the server sends in this encoding format, and browser will decode it for you. And the content length is 50, say 50 bytes. This is the size of this test.html. And connection keep alive. So keep alive means after this requesting, after you send this request, you get the response from the web browser, and again you can send the request without initiating any other connection. That means one connection you can send multiple requests and responses. And here down you can send the any parameters if you want to send to web server. So since this is our get request, we don't need to send any parameters in the most of the situations. So let's see another example of the post request. You can see the post slash login.html. So what I'm going to do is I am posting some data to this login.html for the web server side, and the protocol I'm using is HTTP 1.1. So all these parameter names and values are same: user agent, host, accept, text.html, and accept I want language as English, and gzip, content and connection. So up to here it is same, and then you can see there is a line called this is the actual data you are sending, and username is equal to Nikhil and password is equal to Nikhil. So this data will be sent into this login.html of the web server side. So web server side, on seeing this post request, it will take these parameters and pass it to the login.html. So in this login.html we will have some server side like PHP programming language. Then this username and password will be checked in database, and then the response will either the login successful or failed will be sent to the client. So once again we are just changing the get to post some data to the web server. So you can send the data as the variable name and the value, and separated by ampersand, and the name is name and value. Username is equal to Nikhil and password is equal to Nikhil. So in this way, if you do not have browser, you can also send via some command line tools. So we will see those tools in the later videos. So that's all about this HTTP request. I hope you have understood this one. So let's talk about the HTTP responses. In the previous video we have seen the HTTP request, and for that request a response will be sent from the web server to the client, and that response can be resource or an error. So if there is a correct resource, it will send the resource. If there is no resource found on the web server, it will send an error, and those error codes are defined like this. If you get the 100 or 120 or 130, that means starting with 1 you get the information response code, and if you starting with 2 you get the success response code, like 200, 220, 230. It means that your resource is there on the web server. And if you get 300, 350 or so on, which starts with 3, it means that redirection code. That means you have requested a resource, and that resource has been transferred to another web server. So the code start with the 4, like 404, 405, etc. are the client side error. So you are asking a resource which is not there in your on that web server, or you are asking the request in a incorrect format, and the response code that start with 5, like 503, 504, etc. are the server errors. Means the server has some problem with the network connectivity, or server may go on maintenance or something like this. Servers are not available at that time. In that case you will get the 503 error. So let's see the structure of the response. So in the previous video we have seen the get request. In that get request we are asking the test.html. So in that case, let's say that request has been sent to the web server, and the web server has the test.html. So then web server sends this request to the client. Let's see this. So first one is http/1.1, which is the protocol, and 200 stands for the status code. And if you do not know what that means, it will specify in the ASCII format or like human readable format, saying okay. So okay, the client requested test.html and it is found. And the date means when the server is sending the response to the client, that is the date, like the timestamp. And the server information is also been sent, and you can see server Apache 2.1. So by simply requesting a random file, you can get some server information and also the version of the server running. So if you found some exploits on the exploit DB, you can just try to run them. And the content length is size of that HTML file requested, and the content type is text or HTML. And the next one is somewhat new to us, that is set cookie. We did not see in the request one. So when we request a resource, then the set cookie value will be sent in the response. This is generally now in 2020 almost even the blog site is using the set cookies, because set cookies are used to like uh, monitor the users interaction. Like if you visit the amazon.com website and you do some shopping about the graphic cards or RAM or any other games, then this cookies defines that this user has been searching for graphic cards or some computer parts. Then if you visit any other website and you can see the advertisement related to this your Amazon searches, that's because they use the cookies to keep track of your users interests and searches. So that's why today almost every even blog post have this set cookie options. You can see, if you visit any other website, it says cookies accepted or yes or no. So that is about the set cookie. And last modified is this this date and time, or the timestamp indicates that test.html file has modified in this date, and after that it's not been modified. And this is about the response information, and down after one line you will get the actual data. So the content in the test.html, which is this one. So I hope you have understood. First we got the HTTP 1.1 protocol, and this is called response line, and you get the response code, status code, and the human readable format of that, and you can see the parameters, names and values. And finally you got the actual resource body, that is test.html. So that's all for this HTTP responses.